to Thinks I'll Take It From Here, the podcast where we deep dive into film, TV, and books, breaking down the stories that made us feel something. Whether it's rage, sadness, or disbelief, we're unpacking it all. This week, we're covering The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3, Episode 8, and y'all, it finally happened! The demon has been vanquished! I guess my $19 Yankee Candle manifestation actually worked. This episode had it all. Secret spilling, Belly saying au revoir instead of cutting breakup bangs, Conrad serving a full revenge dress moment, Susannah stirring the pot from beyond the grave, and a cliffhanger ending that left me completely unwell. Let's get into it. So here's a quick recap of episode 8. The episode picks up the morning after the bachelor and bachelorette parties. Belly and Conrad clash in the kitchen. Conrad tries to brush off his confessions of love as a drunken mistake, but Belly pushes back, telling him never to speak to her again. Conrad refuses to let it slide. He reminds her of Christmas at Cousins, the shopping trip at Michael's, even the surf incident where she almost kissed him. Belly denies it all because, as we know, she's running on Delulu and vibes, just pretending that those moments meant nothing, and then Conrad walks away saying he isn't pretending for her anymore. Meanwhile, Taylor corners Conrad and calls him out for being so hot and cold with Belly. I found her tone a little sharp, but it's worth remembering Taylor's only been hearing Belly's side of things for years. So of course she's going to defend Belly like her life depends on it. Later at the spa, Taylor checks in with Belly, but Belly insists she's moving forward with the wedding. This is also where we notice Annika's absence. She's off getting a massage, which feels strange for someone who seems to be close to Belly. We barely see her in the whole wedding arc. I actually didn't realize that all of their friends at the bachelor and bachelorette party weren't in the wedding party until I didn't see them at the rehearsal. Now, is this because they used the budget all up on the music and couldn't afford having the actors in the wedding party? Shout out to ANOG222 for clocking that tea. Speaking of the rehearsal, we get an Easter egg right away, and it's the song playing as everyone makes their way down the aisle. The song is called Bizarre Love Triangle, which feels very fitting. During the dinner, some tea spills. Jeremiah reveals he accepted a job at his father's firm, framing it as stability for their future, but Belly felt blindsided. That night, Belly admits to Jeremiah that Conrad told her he still loves her. Jeremiah spirals and then disappears the next morning. Steven confronts Conrad and flat out tells him to fix the mess. And I felt really bad for the way Steven was talking to Conrad, but again, like Taylor, he's only seeing Belly's side of things, and he's only seeing that Jeremiah is the one who's been present and that Conrad kind of just like ditched him as a friend. So I feel like that's kind of why he was behaving the way he was with Conrad. I'm gonna give him a little bit of grace there. But anyway, Conrad is able to track Jeremiah down at Susannah's memorial garden. The brothers finally fight, literally and emotionally. Conrad admits he loves Belly and offers Jeremiah a free hit and hands over what he thinks is Jeremiah's wedding letter. But it turns out to be Conrad's. In it, Susannah writes that the only time she ever saw Conrad truly in love was with Belly. It's a gut punch. Then Jeremiah tells Conrad they are no longer brothers. And back at the wedding venue, Steven and Denise finally share a kiss, only to laugh and agree that there's no spark between them. I guess they were trying to wrap that plot point up, and it clears the air for Steven to kind of step back into his role supporting Taylor and maybe getting with Taylor. Later, when Taylor urges Belly not to marry Jeremiah just to cling to safety and calls her codependent, Steven backs her up, proving the two of them are kind of aligned on like this wedding, something ain't right with this wedding. Jeremiah meanwhile discovers that Conrad secretly arranged for Adam to bring Susannah's ring for Belly, which is proof Conrad tried to do the right thing in his own way. Conrad sneaks into the bridal suite, apologizes, and tells Belly he's leaving, but that loving her was worth everything. Finally, Belly and Jeremiah face each other dressed for the ceremony. Jeremiah asks if she still loves Conrad. She admits that part of her will always love Conrad, and that honesty is what leads to them breaking up. He reveals he already knew about Christmas at Cousins and that he could never live with sharing her heart, and that's when they call the wedding off. The fallout fallout is immediate. Laurel comforts Belly using their old lemon jelly belly code word, which is a Sweet Season 1 Easter egg. It was their little signal whenever Belly needed help without having to actually say it out loud. After that, Belly leaves behind the key Jeremiah gave her and then heads straight to the airport. And in the final bittersweet shot, she buys a ticket to Paris to reclaim her future. As she waits at the gate, she locks eyes with Conrad, and it looks like she's gonna say something, then the credits roll. All right, so that's my recap. Now let's get into my reaction and some of the things that stood out to me. Because I got thoughts. And of course, I'll sprinkle in a little humor and shade along the way, because honestly, some of these moments were unhinged. So in the opening of the episode, when Belly is still in her makeup and last night's clothes, I think a lot of girls could relate to that. At least the messy girlies like me, who don't always come home after a night out of drinking, ready to do a full 12-step skincare routine. If that's you and you're a messy girly like me, you're not alone. This is a safe space for you. Make sure to subscribe and follow the podcast because you are amongst friends. And this is a safe space, even if it's a little chaotic. Also, side note, am I the only one who used to use those aggressively alcoholic makeup wipes and Clean and Clear in college, then wondered why my skin was so trash? Do y'all remember those days? I feel like I finally recovered from that era in my life. Hopefully now you got micellar water and some cotton rounds because they are so much better for your skin. Mind you, I'm saying this with 3 pimples on my face and no dermatology experience. Take this as my completely unqualified opinion. Anyway, Belly definitely felt better after she showered and had her coffee, which is so relatable, but her 2 minutes of peace were interrupted when she saw Conrad. Can I just say, if Belly is in the cousin's house, expect her to be shocked every single time she runs into Conrad in his own house. She called him sick for taking back what he said the night before, and let's unpack this because I have a crazy timeline to run by you guys, and it's gonna show you who's actually the sick one. So I hope you're sitting down. Belly and Conrad broke up right after prom in early April. Just a week or two later, then Susannah passed away. By the time school ended in May or early June, Belly was already back helping Conrad and Jeremiah fight to save the cousin's house in season 2. And here's the kicker. That same summer, not even 2 months after the breakup with Conrad, Belly was with Jeremiah. So if I do some quick math, carry the 1, add the 2, it equals Belly and Jeremiah are the sick ones because they hopped into that relationship so quickly. And speaking of sick, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, Taylor kind of gagged Conrad in that scene where they were talking about Belly. I know it's probably made some of you mad seeing her talk to Conrad that way, but like I said, keep in mind she's only been seeing and hearing Belly's side of things for years. And even though Taylor couldn't stay loyal to her ex, she's 100% loyal to Belly, even when it means protecting Belly from herself. Because let's not forget, she also gagged Belly when she called her out for being codependent with Jeremiah. I couldn't help but stand Taylor this episode. I don't know what that wet hair look she was going for though. Can someone confirm if Lucinda's business is actually real? Because she didn't help either girl with their hair for the wedding. Like, girl, where are you? Now, granted, Lucinda's hair was giving 7-year-old Barbie doll at the bridal shower, so maybe the girls were better off with her not doing their hair. And speaking of Lucinda, who do you guys think Lucinda is dating? I feel like for them to add that in there, it's gonna mean something. So I'm curious like who you guys are thinking she's dating. I've seen some people say that maybe it's John, and then I've also seen some people say it's Adam, and then also, I don't know if you remember the writer guy from season 1 that Laurel was with. I feel like it could also potentially be him. Maybe it's some character we never met before, but I don't know, I felt like, why did they put that line in there when they did? Maybe it was nothing, but I just thought it was worth noting. Anyway, speaking of Belly's hair though, so you mean to tell me Jeremiah got a cake, the country club wedding, a job in Boston, but Belly couldn't even get someone to do her hair and makeup for her big day? Like, what is that? Jeremiah accepting the job and not telling Belly really pissed me off. So honestly, I hope Adam fires him for embarrassing him by calling this wedding off. Adam has to be mortified. He had clients and business associates show up to this wedding, and now there's no wedding. Please be for real. Imagine the employees who weren't invited getting the tea from Denise about what went down. Jenny Han, please give us a scene or I'm rioting. Oh, and that reminds me, someone needs to ask Jenny Han why she wrote in the first book that Laurel dated Adam first before handing him off to Susannah. Yes, that is the actual wording. I even made a post with the receipts, so follow me at Take It From Here Pod if you want to see. Clearly, Jenny Han loves a messy love triangle, which is why she really needs to release that Laurel and Susannah prequel. And picture it. It could be like an early 2000 peak Y2K chaos, butterfly clips, low-rise jeans, Nokia ringtones, Avril Lavigne, Destiny's Child, and in the middle of it all, Laurel and Susannah meeting as unlikely college roommates, one effortlessly cool and the other sarcastic and jaded, and they forge a bond that becomes soulmate level friendship. A prequel will give us everything: their first heartbreaks, their big dreams, meeting Adam and John, and the millennial core nostalgia the Summer I Turned Pretty fans are craving. And yes, I still think Laurel and Susannah were secretly in love with each other, but I'm gonna move on and get back to my episode 8 reactions. Here's also what stood out to me. The rehearsal dinner was kind of awkward. Once again, I guess everyone is acting temporarily blind during those long glances Conrad and Belly share. And Conrad witnessing Jeremiah and Belly fight about Boston, dressed in black, looking sharp. It was giving revenge dress and a funeral, and I love that for him. After the rehearsal, when they all go to get ice cream, minus Conrad, which that whole exchange between Conrad and Jeremiah really pissed me off. Like, dude, he doesn't want ice cream. Leave him alone. I really don't understand, though, how Steven and Denise can say they don't have any chemistry. I feel like I've been gaslit watching their chemistry the last 8 episodes. How do they not see it when I can see it on my 65-inch TV? But it's probably for the best since they're going to be business partners, so I won't waste any more time on these two. Now, remember how I said Jeremiah was pissed at Conrad for not going to get ice cream? Why Belly thought that was the perfect time to tell him about Conrad's declaration was so crazy. No wonder he bounced the next day. Now, speaking of the wedding day, when Steven pressured Conrad to fix things and find Jeremiah and officially comes out as a jellyfish stan, I fell to my knees, y'all. Like, no, Steven, you need to get that demon away from your sister. And then, like I said, I realized, I sat and thought about it. He doesn't know about Cabo, and he just kind of feels abandoned by Conrad. So I get it, but you need to keep that demon from your sister. So I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go, Steven. I'm gonna let it go. But I think Steven did redeem himself when he stood up for Taylor after Belly called her selfish. I think in that moment, it was the first time we really saw Taylor being the type of friend Belly needed this whole season. That scene between Belly and Taylor really made me so mad at Belly. And I feel like I give her a lot of grace, but that scene was crazy. How can you call her selfish? She gave up her dream job to help save her mom's business and gave up Steven so he could be happy. Does Belly even realize how much Taylor has sacrificed in the last few weeks? Or has Belly been too busy planning the wedding? After they have that exchange, we get the memorial showdown. It was so intense. Jeremiah was quite literally crashing out. And baby, that letter from beyond the grave did not make things better. I've seen people say Laurel switched the letters on purpose, but that's not what happened. The letters just got mixed up when Susannah was writing them because Laurel accidentally knocked the tray over. And I have to say, I don't like this whole letter storyline. For Susannah to say she's only seen Conrad truly in love with Belly is messy. Like, what if he was marrying someone else? Or what if he was gay? Also, Belly said in season 1 that Susannah told her she always thought Belly was destined for one of her boys. So clearly she had some awareness it could have been either brother. And yet she still wrote that? This woman is messy. Plus this whole arranged marriage vibe, I'm not feeling it. Like, no, I don't like that. When Jeremiah punched Conrad after he said he knew about Cabo, it's because he had no other way to defend himself. He knows he was dead wrong for the Cabo thing, and Jeremiah's sudden interest in disowning Conrad felt hypocritical because Conrad didn't do that when Jeremiah literally started dating Belly like 2 months after she and Conrad broke up. Granted, they weren't in a 4-year relationship, but it's still messed up. Once again, Conrad is better than me because after getting punched, I would have taken Susannah's ring back. This man-child doesn't need it. He needs some growing up to do. I really hope when Jeremiah learns about his dad's affair, it forces him to finally mature. And since we're in uncharted territory now, basically off book, for those reading along, there are like 4 pages left in the novel and still 3 episodes left in the season. Maybe we'll see the affair tea drop have a ripple effect because it'll be interesting to explore what happens to someone who loses respect for a person whose approval they sought their whole life, right? Like, how will this impact Jeremiah? Before Conrad leaves, he has his final conversation with Belly, and that scene was so sad. It's so clear if Susannah never passed away, they would have been together. It just shows you how grief can have ripple effects. By the time Jeremiah got to the venue, I'm sure the guests were looking at their watches and phones and scratching their heads wondering what was happening. Meanwhile, Belly and Jeremiah have the first real conversation they've ever had in 4 years. The biggest bomb from that conversation, which I suspected, was that Jeremiah knew about Christmas at Cousins this whole time. That's why he picked a fight, gaslit, and cheated on Belly, which is so crazy. Like, yeah, Belly should have been truthful, but that's not how adults act. I have to constantly remind myself I need to start giving these characters more grace. They are extremely young. Never in my life did I think I'd be applauding Jeremiah, but he actually articulated things really well in this scene. This whole mess boils down to Belly and Conrad not being over each other, and Belly using Jeremiah to try to get over Conrad. After that convo, the wedding is canceled, and it finally closes the door on those cringe rehearsal dances ever seeing the light of day again. I love that Belly chose Paris over a bad haircut or bad bangs like many of us do after a breakup. And speaking of Paris, the cliffhanger at the airport was crazy. I told you guys episode 8 and 9 were gonna feel like a two-parter, and wait, what is this? Oh my god, you guys, they just dropped a trailer. Hold on, I'm gonna watch it and come right back. Hold on. Okay, so while I was recording, the trailer for the rest of the season dropped. My immediate reaction is confusion, excitement, and WTF. First, I thought Laurel knew Belly was going to Paris, but the trailer seems to imply she didn't. Second, is that a potential new love interest in the trailer, the guy taking the photos of Belly in Paris? I would love for her to meet new people that didn't live in Susannah's womb for 9 months. So I'm here for this. And third, we're finally seeing the letters Conrad writes to Belly in the books, which was a catalyst for them getting together. Really quick, here are my theories and predictions. I don't think Belly is doing study abroad there. I think she just used the honeymoon airfare gift cards to go to Paris. I could be wrong, but I can imagine when she dropped out, they filled her spot with another student. At this point, I think we're gonna see Belly get a job, make friends. Keep in mind, Belly speaks decent French. She took classes in high school and college. It was one of the few classes she wasn't bombing in high school after Susannah died. She even read the Hunger Games fully in French back then. So she's not going to be totally unable to communicate, but I do think she's going to be in Paris for a while before she gets the letters from Conrad. And no, I don't think she's going to get off the plane to talk to him. For those who watch Friends, I think that cliffhanger scene was supposed to be an Easter egg, like when Rachel was going to Paris, but instead of backing out like Rachel did, Belly's going to stand 10 toes down on her decision to go. This show has had a few Friends references, which makes sense because that was a show that was made for Jenny Han's generation. Two things I want to mention before I go. Both actors who played Jeremiah and Conrad were spotted filming in Paris, so we may actually see them there, or maybe Belly dreamed seeing them, but in the leak behind the scenes, it definitely looks like they were visiting her. And second, the actor who plays Redbird said he's in every episode from now until the finale, so I'm guessing that detail is important. But that is a wrap on this week's breakdown of the Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3, Episode 8. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss next week's recap and reaction, and if you're feeling generous, leave a rating or a review. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Take It From Here Pod for extra breakdowns, hot takes, and chaos between episodes. Thanks so much for listening, besties. Oh, and if you're going through a bad breakup, go to Paris. Don't cut your hair, girl.